Yeah, Rupert, I would like to. It's a little bit on definitions side of things a little bit, but it kind of bugged me during lunch, or after lunch actually. It's the definition of consciousness, as we have heard many times, and in many traditions, is that what ultimately hears these words, and you can say the same, that what ultimately sees, that what ultimately smells, etc., etc., or that what ultimately see the thoughts. And also in your metaphor that you use very often, you speak about us being an aware screen, aware being that what ultimately is aware of thoughts, feelings, sights, etc.
Yes, but let me just refine that definition a little bit. We don't need to say that which is aware of these words, of these thoughts, that's true. But what happens when there are no words, thoughts, or all we need to say is that which is aware.
Yeah. Okay. Aware of awareness.
Just that which is aware.
Yeah. But now the question. The question is in this morning's exchange, where a different metaphor was probably referred at, whereby consciousness is the space or the vacuum or the void, whereby the space doesn't care whether we are all shooting at each other here or being loving kindness or whatever. And this morning you mentioned, I think, to this gentleman, that awareness does not know the objects. So I know it's a bit of a theoretical question. Usually I don't ask theoretical questions.
It's not a theoretical question.
But it's a bit contradicting here.
Right. No, it's not. It would seem to be a contradiction, and it's not a theoretical question at all, because it would appear to be a contradiction until we understand the two different contexts in which the teaching at one moment says awareness is the space in which objects appear and with which they are known. So that statement admits that awareness knows objects. And the next minute the teaching can say awareness never knows an object because it is never a subject. So those two statements, they're not really contradictory, they just belong to two different levels of understanding. So, and I don't always manage to, but I try to use the word awareness for the first, the awareness plus objects. And in the next stage, I use the word pure knowing to try to make a distinction between which level we're talking. So let me explain these two levels. In fact, there are really three levels or stages. The first one is what we normally think to be the case, in which we think I, the body-mind, am aware, and I am aware of the world, objects, others, the world. Okay? That's the normal formulation of experience. I, the body-mind, am aware of the world, and this is enshrined in our language. I see the tree. I hear the cars. I love you, etc. So this is subject in here, joined to an object out there through three channels: knowing, feeling, and perceiving. So that's just the common perspective. So in response to that perspective, the teaching, it comes down off its perch, off the top of the mountain, and it comes down to meet us, to meet this understanding, and it says, okay, let's just take one step towards reality. See that it's not I, the body-mind, that knows the world. It is I, pure awareness, which is aware of the body-mind world. And then we look in our experience and we think, yes, of course, the sound of the car flows by, my thoughts flow by. my sensations flow by. It's not a thought that is hearing the sound of the car. It is I, awareness, that hears the sound of the car as it flows by. It knows the thought as it flows by, and it knows the sensation as it flows by. So in this stage, we say, okay, it is I, that which is aware, that which is present and aware, hence the word awareness, the presence of that which is aware. I, awareness, am aware of the body, mind and world. And then first of all, we think, yes, it's obvious. Thoughts, feelings, sensations and perceptions, they all appear to awareness. Then we close our eyes, we experience the thought, we experience the sound, we experience the texture. We realize, actually the sound doesn't appear to awareness, it's in awareness. My thoughts are obviously in awareness. Even in ignorance, we think that thoughts are inside us. But we think that sounds are outside us. Now we realize, no, thoughts are inside me, feelings are inside me, sights are inside me, textures are inside me, everything. So everything is inside me. Now in order to formulate that, what I am is then like a container, and everything is inside it. Hence the metaphor, space-like awareness. It's a container like this room, and all the objects of experience, the thoughts, the feelings, the sensations, etc., appear in it. The metaphor I and others use, the metaphor of the sky with clouds appearing in it. The sky is one thing, the clouds are another thing. The sky is the subject, the clouds are the object. Awareness is the subject, thoughts, feelings, sensations and perceptions are the object. So here we admit objects. Awareness is the ultimate subject, everything else is the object. And awareness is conceived of this vacuum, this because it's empty of objects. So it's in the Buddhist tradition, it's referred to as void or empty or sometimes nothing, meaning not a thing, not a thought, not a feeling. But we're still in duality here. It's no longer the duality of I, the body-mind, the subject, and the world, the object. It is I, awareness, the subject, and the body-mind world is the object. So it's still duality, but it's enlightened duality. So then, when that becomes clear, and when we've paused there and pondered the nature of awareness, as we were saying before, come to recognize that awareness is ever-present and unlimited, we then go back to the objects of the body-mind world which we now experience arising within us, and we explore what is the relationship between me, this vast open empty space, and the objects that appear in it, and the kind of deconstruction that we've been doing these last few days, going from the sound, which first of all seems to be an object appearing in awareness, then we realize, no, the sound is just made of hearing. Hearing is not an object, it's more like a process. So its solidity is already beginning to break down. And then we ask, what is there to hearing? All there is the knowing of it. In other words, hearing is made out, not just appearing in, not just known by, but actually made out of the space in which it is appearing. So then we abandon the metaphor of the sky and the clouds, and we go to my favorite metaphor, the screen and the image, because even, that's why it's such a nice metaphor, because even in the world of physical objects, there aren't two things called screen and image. You could never say the screen permeates the image, because that would suggest that there is something called an image and it's permeated by the screen. The screen doesn't permeate the image. The screen is all there is to the image. The image is just a temporary name and form of the screen. So in this, here, all the distinction between awareness and its objects has been collapsed. So at this stage we say, no, awareness never knows an object, because only a separate subject could know a separate object. Then we look back to our intermediary formulation, awareness plus objects, and we realize actually there is never awareness plus objects. That was just a pedagogical step so that we could go in 2 steps from ignorance to understanding, from the normal everyday perspective, conventional duality. We go halfway home, awareness plus objects, enlightened duality, and then the next step brings us all the way home. It's just embodied enlightenment, where there is just this knowing. So that's why these 2 different formulations. In the first, awareness plus objects. In the second, you see, the second, once we say there are no more objects, awareness doesn't know an object, we can't even really call awareness awareness any longer. Because awareness only means something. It derives its meaning from what it is not. When we think of awareness, we think it's not all of those objects. But if there are no longer any objects, we can't even call it awareness. And this is why this tradition is called Non-Duality. Because it's not called oneness or unity. It's too much to call it one thing, pure knowing or awareness. We give it a name because we want to speak of it, but actually it's more accurate just to say it's not 2 things.
May I still thank you very much, it's beautiful, but there's one point still, and that's the point of my question really. And I followed the whole steps, all the steps you made, until you come to the point, even after that, where there's in fact the screen and the image is one. Okay, and I have more and more experiences like that. I feel more like mirror somehow. For me, mirror works better than screen because mirror has somehow more dimensional thing. I feel like the gray mirror substance on one hand, and yet all the colors of the world, and there's no division between being these images and the amazing images that come in the mirror substance. I see that point. I see that there is a collapse of that what we call the awareness in stage 2, and the image on the other hand. I see they are really integrated. But where I differ from you, where we depart, is when you say that substance, that mirror substance or the screen substance, doesn't know the image. There is where I cannot follow, because for me it knows it's one.
No, I didn't say it didn't know the image. I said it doesn't know the image as an object.
Okay.
It knows experience. It doesn't. You see, it doesn't even know experience, because if we say awareness knows experience, we've got experience and awareness knowing it. Even if we say awareness doesn't know experience as an object, it just knows experience, we have to collapse awareness and experience. Awareness equals experience. It's that there is only one, right now, that there is just one substance present. Let's call it experience. Is there anything present for you now other than, let's forget the word awareness, let's call it experience. Is there anything present now other than experience?
Only experience.
Has there ever been anything other than experience present?
I realize that. Yeah.
Has experience ever ceased to be present for you?
Never.
So, now, is experience divisible?
I agree. It's not divisible at all.
It's not divisible, no. So that whether we call it awareness or experience, it doesn't matter. Now, the reason why I favour the word awareness, although there's something to be said for calling it awareness, because it makes sure that we're talking about this experience, and not some abstract notion of awareness but behind the scenes. But what we have to understand, that awareness is experience, awareness equals experience, but it's not made out of any particular experience. So all we ever know is experience, and experience is continuous, yes? You never experience the absence of experience. It's continuous, it's seamless, it's indivisible. Now, what is it made of? What it's made of must be continuously present.
Yes.
It can't be
I
made
can
of...
use my metaphor of the mirror substance.
Yeah, it's made of this shiny, luminous substance called the surface of the mirror.
Yeah.
It's not made of any particular object in the mirror. But you see, there aren't any particular objects in the mirror. There are only particular objects in the mirror from the illusory point of view of one of those particular objects. It is thought that creates, it is thought that divides experience up into objects and selves. That thought itself is made out of indivisible experience.
Let me still come back to this gentleman's morning's concern about suffering, for example. Does God knows suffering? And this is where I have this little bit of difficulty, because you then conclude God does not know it. And for me, my conclusion, and I thought we were in agreement here, is that it is one and the same. It's same. I mean, the image is in the mirror, so it must know it.
To know suffering, you have to know resistance. The mirror doesn't know resistance. What does the mirror resist? How can you suffer if you're not resisting? It's not that God... you see, what you're thinking that suffering is there and God just doesn't see it. Suffering is not there. Suffering is an optical illusion. It's not there. If you go to its heart, even the deepest depression, you go to its heart, you go deeply to it, instead of avoiding it and doing everything to get rid of it. If you turn around and face it and go deeply into it, you find happiness buried at its heart.
Okay.
The suffering, I know this is tough for the ego, for thought. Suffering is not there. When you look for it, it's only there when we don't look, when it's in the murky shadows that haven't been explored. But when we really explore it, we look for it and we open it up and we open it up and we're looking for this thing called suffering. We open up our experience more and more and more. And right at the heart of it, when we expect to find the core of suffering, we find openness, emptiness, peace.
Thank you, that is it. Yeah.